and welcome to Navigating the 9 to 5. My name's Tess, and as usual, I will be your host for today. Today, we're talking about something a little bit different, actually. I didn't realise that one of the reasons that I got so anxious about work and one of the reasons that I really burnt out is that I was incredibly emotionally attached to my job. So today, we're going to talk about how to be better at your job by removing the emotional attachments. And if you're watching this, I'm going to be reading some notes, so you might see me just reading, but I probably shouldn't have said that for anybody that's listening. But yes, it's something that I didn't realise that I was. So I was incredibly emotionally attached to my job, which made me worse at it because it meant that when there was some feedback about something that was at work or a situation or a project or something, I took it really personally and I thought it was a personal attack on me and I got really defensive. And then I was like, really, yeah, I just kind of really took it to heart. It got me really upset, made me really worried about stuff and started to like really lose my confidence. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. So we are going to go through how to know if you're emotionally attached to your job, why it matters, and then what you can do if you think that you are emotionally attached to your job and how you can basically detach a little bit from it. And when I say detach, I don't mean like, suddenly stop being engaged in everything that's going on at work. That's absolutely not what this is about. It's all about detaching in a way that is going to take your personal interpretation, I guess, for want of a better word, like out of any sort of remotely negative sort of feedback or criticism that comes up. Because as we all know, feedback is a gift. And if you can take your ego out of it that thinks it's been dented, which mine was massively, then we can actually kind of get to the crux of the feedback, which is probably quite useful. So, how do you know if you're emotionally attached to your job? Why does this matter? What you can do about it. First up, how do I know if I'm emotionally attached to my job? So ask yourself the following questions. Number one, do you take things personally at work? I was a massive yes. Two, do you find yourself volunteering for things because you think it would look good rather than because you're actually interested in doing the thing? Yep, I was a yes for that. Three, do you get really worried what people think of you when you present at work? Jesus, I was a massive yes for that. Four, do you find yourself over preparing for presentations and meetings? Bloody hell, I was again a massive yes for that. Five, do you worry when someone criticizes your work? Six, do you get nervous sometimes before meetings? Seven, do you get nervous before speaking up in meetings? So much so sometimes you don't speak up. Eight, do you get nervous before check-ins with your manager? 9, do you internalize negative feedback? Do you think it's like a personal attack on you? If you answered yes to any of these, let alone all of these, like I was definitely, then you are probably emotionally attached to your job. And it matters because for the first 15 years of my working life, my identity, my entire identity, was tied up in my job. So on the outside, it made me feel like I was really good at it. But the truth is, it made me feel like I was good at it because I went over and above to work harder, work longer hours. I was regularly praised for my conscientious work ethic. And I was always really well prepared for meetings, a safe pair of hands, people trusted me, all that sort of stuff. But on the inside, I wasn't that great at it. I got really nervous in meetings and before presentations. I used to think that the smallest thing, like I said, that went wrong was a huge personal criticism and like a black mark against my name kind of thing and my character. And also what sort of my peers and colleagues and things thought of me. And it's also the reason that I spent 3 years gunning for a promotion that I actually didn't really want to do. Because I had so much attachment to that job that I didn't realise who I was without it. I'd totally forgotten. So here's what you can do about it and how you can change this. So ultimately, the best thing you can do is put some space between you and your job. And this is how I did it. So number one, I created better boundaries. So working longer hours does not make you better at your job. In fact, it made me worse at my job. I was running on 50% most of the time because I was so tired. I was so exhausted. I was, reading the same thing over and over again without any breaks, without any perspective, without any thinking. I was just doing. When I put boundaries in place, I was running on 90% for most of the time while I was working. I was better focused, better able to prioritize work, removed all the busy work. I was able to kind of think and come up with ideas and creatively brainstorm, all these kind of great things. Which is all the stuff that we want to be doing. A, because it's more interesting, and B, because that's what's going to get you noticed at work. It's what's going to get you promoted. It's what's going to get you a pay rise. It's all the good stuff. Next up, remember that you have more in your life than your job. So what do you love to do out of work? Maybe you should spend a bit, or you could spend a little bit of time thinking about the answer to that question, because if you've got kind of loved ones around you and you're throwing yourself into work, time spent away from your job is good for you. It enables you to rest. It gives you perspective. It means that you can it means that the subconscious can take over when we're sort of, when our conscious mind is distracted. And that's when we often find that we come up with great ideas. Like, you might be playing with a child and something sparks an idea. It might be chatting to a friend and something sparks an idea. And it's really important, number 3, to realize that you are more than your job. Who are you? Have you forgotten who you are? Who are you without this job? If you were made redundant tomorrow or lost this job, how would you feel and who would you be? Because when I was in the thick of being emotionally attached to my job, would have felt all sorts of shame, all sorts of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the word, all sorts of, like, I would have had a proper crisis of confidence, because so much of me was wrapped up in my job. But you're still you, whether you have this job or not. Your values, your strengths, your beliefs, your personality, thoughts, emotions. Who are you? Maybe take some time to have a think about the answers to those questions, and those things are: where are you giving, number 4, I think we're number 4, where are you giving your best energy? So I realised that I was giving all of my energy to work, which I kept saying wasn't my priority, but my actions didn't align with what I was saying. So my partner and my friends and my family, and my health and various things, I kept saying that they were my priority, but they absolutely weren't. I was so emotionally attached to my job that they always came second to work. And I actually, if I'm totally honest, there was some kind of, it was definitely an ego thing. That felt good. It felt good to be busy, to be wanted at work. That made me feel important. That made me feel some kind of way. But we can still have that feeling without making work everything. And actually, we are better at work if we have a rich life outside of work as well, because that helps us to, like I said, rest and relax, and we have a much more fulfilling and richer life. So, this is back to things like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and stuff. If we're just working all the time, we have no space for our social health, our physical health, our mental health, our spiritual health, financial health might be doing well if you're working like a dog, but I don't think it is if you're working like a dog, because you're probably working on the wrong things and you're not doing it very well if you're working all the hours God sends. But yeah, so look at where you're giving your best energy to and what that says. And then the next part is around kind of facing up to reality. So the unfortunate truth of a professional job in a corporate world is that they will take everything you give to them, and sometimes, often, they will give you as little as possible in return. Now, this isn't bashing the corporate world, because I absolutely loved my time there, and this does hugely depend on the company that you work for. So working more hours doesn't necessarily equal a promotion. But also, if it does, you've then created a rod for your own back, because you've gone into this promotion working all the hours that God sends. So you've set this unrealistic expectation of these, really ridiculously high working hours, which aren't sustainable. All it's going to do is lead to you getting burnt out, which is exactly what it did to me. So if you have to work longer hours to get your job done, you're either not focusing on the right stuff, spending too long on the wrong stuff, or maybe you need some training on how to do it. That might be your reality. And that's okay, because actually, that's more than okay. That's great, because awareness is key. Awareness is the first step to us actually identifying what these things are that we need to make changes on. And then we can do so from a place of kind of growth and evolution and change and positive change, rather than kind of berating ourselves for all these things. So if you think that you're emotionally attached to your job, if you take everything very personally, like I did, one of the best things that you can do is put some space in between you and your job, and do that by creating better boundaries and remembering that you have a life outside of work, and that you have so much more in your life, and you are so much more than your job. Remember, tune back in with what your values are, who you are, what you're good at, what you love, all that kind of thing. So that's the end of the episode. Where are we? 10 minutes. That's pretty good. I hope you found that really useful. This is something that I didn't realise that I was so emotionally attached to my job. And it's because I kind of made it my number one priority without realising how much more I had in my life. But yeah, and like I said, it's taken a lot of honesty for me to be like, yeah, I did that because my ego really enjoyed it. That is the simple fact of it. I really enjoyed being wanted and needed in the workplace, and I really enjoyed that when there was a problem, people would call me because I'm a safe pair of hands kind of thing. It made me feel really good, but it also took me away from the other important stuff in my life, the other stuff that I said was a priority. So if this has hit a nerve with you, my recommendation to you right now is to take 5 minutes or so just to reflect on everything that I've just said and what's come up for you and why. Be kind to yourself. Don't judge it. Just be honest and curious about what's coming up, and have a think about what that might mean and how you might be able to change that. Because when you remove the emotional attachment, I promise you, like, everything just kind of feels really liberating. Suddenly things that go wrong aren't your fault. They're nothing to do with you. It doesn't mean that you're shit at your job. You stop having these kind of crises of confidence, which I had regularly. So I highly recommend. But yeah, hope you really enjoyed that episode. What was I going to say? If you really enjoyed it, like, subscribe, follow, whatever platform on, that'd be great. And also, yeah, if you've got any feedback or anything else that you would like to hear about that we haven't talked about on the series, on the show, then do drop me a message to tess@lightmeup.club. In the same way, if this has really resonated with you and you feel like you're really emotionally attached to your job and you don't know what to do next, do reach out to me. I've got a couple of spaces at the moment for one-to-one clients, and yeah, I'd be happy to help you. But hope you're doing well, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Take care.